Welcome back, viewers. Thank you for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, you are viewing Fight for We, Fight for West and East, as we count down to general elections on Monday, the 28th of April, 2025. And with me this morning is Mr. Ricardo Phillips, one of the individuals who has offered himself as a candidate for Tobago West. Good morning, Ricardo.
Good morning, Tobago Updates. Good morning, Tobago, Trinidad, the rest of the world. Always appreciate being here. Thank you guys for inviting me this morning.
And Ricardo, Class Action Reform Movement, CAM. That's the name of your political entity. Do you see it as a political party? How do you describe it?
Well, it's both.
CAM?
Because, you know, politics is the conduit to mobilizing and getting elected and so on. But I would like to emphasize but the emphasis really is on reform.
Right.
Because I believe that this country, this nation needs a reset. Politically, socially, culturally, need a reset. And it's pointless, and I've seen it in my years on this earth, that political parties and people trying to fix it in the middle and all different angles. And you know, the fundamentals of troubleshooting is that you have to go to the root of the problem.
Right.
And resolve it from there. And I think that if we want to move forward, the onus is on us now, and especially and particularly for generations to come, to go to the root of the problems and resolve them. And so my mantra or tagline for this election is to build a nation the right way. So CAM emphasis on explaining to the population no political party, no political philosophy, no new political ideology, no political leader can save us, can deliver us from the situation that we're in. The responsibility and the onus is on us, the people.
Right.
That's basically the core of my campaign. I've been saying this for the last couple of elections.
Right.
I need to be consistent because changing mindset is not an overnight thing. You can't want to election or hustle to do that.
Right.
This has to be consistent. And anybody can challenge this. You can do what you want, say what you want. There is no other way. There is absolutely no other way. We can talk about the PNM, the UNC, the TTP, or what have you. We can talk about all those parties as much as we want. We can wear the T-shirts and commit to being born into them and dying into them is not going to change the situation.
Right.
Only going back to the cause of the problem and resolving it from there. And that involves, and that means public referendums on important issues, especially in Tobago. It means the constitutional reform.
And how do you plan to accomplish all of this? Because here you seem to be standing alone in terms of you're not from a large political entity, right? And as you mentioned, you've been doing this for a while. So how do you really plan to accomplish this? Because one may describe you as a one-man army.
Well, yeah, and that's a fair assessment for now, because it takes one man to start it, as I've said before, but one man can't carry it.
Right.
And so you gotta, you see, the thing about political parties in Trinidad, our history has shown that you form political party and you get people who, without any real knowledge on their interests in terms of what they want out of this. And I have decided to take a different route. Right. I want you to support me based on your understanding of my core philosophy.
Right.
And not necessarily because you know me, not because you like what I'm saying necessarily, but you understand and you want to be part of that kind of movement, because this requires a revolution of the mind, a change in mind and thinking. You're talking about the people who have been indoctrinated for generations.
Right.
You know, to go there and say, I want you to help me form a party and we're going to be the PNM. If that's your mission, to be the PNM and to be the UNC, then you feel already. So this has to do with serious introspection, with deep personal forethought and so on. So it's not just simply running to the game and try once. I have no illusions about what I'm into, what I've gotten myself into. As a matter of fact, let me retract that. I haven't gotten myself into anything. This is my passion. This is my God-given duty and responsibility, and I take that at heart.
Right. And although you may have answered this question in part, what makes you keep going? Because you've mentioned, you know, you've been at it, and I don't know if you can tell us how long you've been at it. And you know, is it that you're seeing the support? You have been around for. Is it that you've offered yourself for THA elections, or is it just general elections in the past? Take us through, you know, part of the experience.
I see the problems and I see the consequences of the problem. I've worked with young people, kids from 5 years, who are adults now over the past 20, 25 years.
Right.
And I've seen the consequences of our failures for young people. I think that moves me more than personal ambition or personal importance, or self-importance rather, because doesn't mean anything to me. Self-importance means nothing to me. The problem that I've seen, the consequences of our failure as a nation, as far as our young people is concerned, that is a motivating factor. Because when we can no longer do for ourselves as senior citizens, these are generation coming up we have to depend on.
Correct.
And we especially our young men, it's terrible, it's frightening. And I've worked with young men in the past. I had single mothers reaching out to me to help and to mentor and to, you know, and I mean, I can't understand why as a nation we can't understand and see the problem as it is.
But is it that we're not seeing the problem, or is it that the problem is so large that it really can't be fixed?
And that's a good question. I think people are throw their hands in the air, whatever, you know, it is what it is. And wherever it ends up, but I can't live like that. I mean, is that how we plan to live? I mean, you know, wherever it takes us, no, certainly not for me. So this is not just on the surface for me. It's based on deep and personal experience, adding to the fact that I believe that I want to be able to leave my country better than I have inherited it. That's also a passion for me as well. And we can only do that because the Bible said, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can't be transformed by putting on new clothes.
Right.
And building new hospitals and fixing the roads. You have to be transformed by your thinking.
Right.
But in part, more so, the people of Trinidad and Tobago have a lot to do with the state that we're in. We don't know that. I don't think that we take that seriously, but that's our reality.
Right.
We have a lot, the population who thinks that it's easy to blame Rowley and Kamala and the PNM and the UNC. You have a major role to play in taking this country forward. You can no longer hide behind this idea that, you know, you're a bystander and everybody else to blame except yourself.
Right.
We can no longer do that because we are in a bad state. The politics of the past have not worked for us. It's not working for us. And guarantee it's not going to work for us.
Right. And do you think, based again on your past, because people define success in different ways, and when we look at our electoral process, the voting, if you win, then people say you were successful, but you have not been successful at the polls thus far. Do you still see success in that?
Oh, absolutely. The poll is just a manifestation of the success eventually that will come. You can't look at the poll in the first instant. If you're looking at the success of the poll in the first instant, you've failed. You've lost already. If that's my motivation, then but I just forget that.
Right.
The success is every person that I talk to and understand what the mission. That is success.
Right.
It's a biblical principle. If one soul is saved, you know, you've won.
Right.
So it's not necessarily about the success of the poll. Of course, I want to win. $5,000 I save enough for a whole year to make up my 5,000.
Right.
So I need back my 5,000 if it's possible.
Right.
But it's not the ultimate for me. It's a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice. It's a personal sacrifice for me to be having to pay and all these years of getting election and knowing that's an investment. It's not a loss for me.
Right.
I don't consider it a loss, but it's an investment into what my purpose on the face of this earth, and in particular to Trinidad and Tobago specifically.
And how have you been campaigning as a one-man army? What outlets do you use? How do you get your message out there so people can take you seriously and consider you as a candidate?
Well, you know, you will have challenge in comparison to the big parties.
Right.
The millions of dollars. I don't have
and
that.
the big sound
the
systems.
big sound system and so on.
Yes.
But I'm in no competition with the big party. And if you think that you're as a small, whether you're independent or small party, trying to compete, you're going to have some problems, some challenges. So I'm in no competition. The campaign for me is really always a personal, a one-on-one, where you get 2 and 3. You know, utilize that as well. The social media, this Tobago update.
Yes.
I appreciate that. So it's those type of inexpensive and affordable rather method of campaigning. So it takes a longer time for people like me to get across to the entire country, because I still meet people who say, but I didn't know I still meet that.
Right.
But I also have a lot of people saying, yeah, I understand, I've known you anything a long time. And so it's all those things you need to do to catch up. And so one of the things to deal with this, you also have to deal with the way we run our election campaign. So that's something that a big issue for me as far as my election philosophy is concerned.
Right. And how do you see yourself as an MP? So let me rephrase. In your opinion, your eyes, what do you think, or how do you see the role of a member of parliament, and how do you fit into that role?
Well, I think the role of the MP is, and specifically Tobago West, your duty when you get to the parliament, whether you're in the parliament or the cabinet, your duty is and responsibility is to ensure that the Tobago House of Assembly, and I'm talking about the case of Tobago,
Right.
because the Parliament and the Cabinet responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct.
When you get to the Parliament, you don't go there specifically and only to deal with your area of representing. It's to ensure that the Parliament ensure that the entire nation is represented. But in Tobago in particular, like all the other local government arms of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the THA, the Parliament and the Cabinet responsible to ensure that the Tobago House of Assembly is adequately funded and accountable to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That is the role of an MP. If I get into there, my duty is to ensure that the THA who's charged with the responsibility of carrying out the day-to-day business of the people of Tobago is fully funded and accountable. That has to go hand in hand, because there's a fight for power, more power and more power and more power, but nobody talks about accountability. Nobody talks about protection also for the people that you're giving, who you have more charge over.
Right.
So those are the balance that you have to create as an MP. You get to the Parliament, you have to make sure the THA functioning, the roads they're capable of paving the roads. There's no bickering between the two, because what we have now is that you have central government in lieu of the constitutional representative, and the THA competing in Tobago, who doing projects here, and there's a central government project.
But doesn't the law clearly define the roles of both entities? Why do you think we always have to be like this? Because the law is there.
The party politics. The party politics dictates that that's how you behave. And I'm saying here that while the survivability, political survivability depends on how people see you, in this case, the party politics, plays a major role in that dysfunction. So you have an environment of competition between the two.
Right.
And the people suffer as a consequence.
So let's talk more about your campaign. What has been your experience so far, campaigning for this general elections?
We meet all kind of a varied of reaction. Some people for, some people, you meet the diehards. I mean, there's some diehards out there, if you're not good for yourself,
Right.
You see what happened up in the East with so you have that kind of, so I just try to stay away from all of that.
Right.
And focus on what I want at the bacchanal and the confusion. Because you ask people the serious questions and they can't answer them.
Right.
People understanding of representation means that what you're going to do for me when you get in there. And we as a nation don't understand that that's not representation. The representation is supposed to be what you would have me do as a representative. So I think the emphasis for me is more of education, telling people how the things go, according to the young people, how we're supposed to work,
Right.
so that you know that you have to educate yourself on the issues in your community, and then tell me as a representative, this is what we want done. You do this by community gatherings and communicating with each other and so on. When you have that done, then you change the dynamics, because representative will now know that it's not about they're going in there with their ideas. As a matter of fact, our politics now attract people just coming there for the money, for the fish and the loaves.
Right.
It ain't about representing people, it ain't about seeing about communities and so on. In addition, when you as the representative goes to Trinidad and you ensure that the THA is adequately funded, what you have done is that you create opportunity, you empower the people of Tobago, and that's what we need here in Tobago. Tobago is